Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome, I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, coming at you once again with another update, another recap of the G1 Climax 32 over there in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're talking about nights 15 and 16. Numbers aren't my thing. They've never been my thing. Even in their simplest applications, they still cause me trouble. 15 and 16. We're in the final turn here for block action, so I'm excited to talk about it again today. First and foremost, though, thank you very much for letting me into your ear holes and eyeballs, or either or. I truly appreciate it. And look, let's get this out of the way right now. If you're watching this on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes right now, consider subscribing. Well, why don't you do it? Just go ahead, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. You'll get, access to the rest of my coverage here. Well, everyone has access, but I mean, you'll get the rest of my coverage. You'll never miss a thing. You'll never miss the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast ever again for the rest of your life. How great is that? And it also helps out a great deal, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You can also leave a like and a comment if you do feel inclined as well. Plus, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, again, thank you for that. If you're enjoying the recaps, you're enjoying the content, hey, a 5-star review on the Apple Podcasts would be nice. If a 5-star rating on the Spotify would also be very nice. There you go. Those things help out the podcast a great deal. Helps the thing grow. And we've grown so much over the course of this G1, and now we're hitting the ceiling. We're about to hit the plateau. There's no more room. All our roots have spread out as far as they could within the pot that's containing us. We can't grow anymore, or barely anymore. We're about to hit the ceiling, like I said, because we are talking about nights 15 and 16. 2 nights of block action left, and I mean the blocks have taken shape quite a bit, and we're going to talk about them, of course, as we go along. But first, let's go ahead and chit chat about these 2 nights of professional wrestling provided to us by the good folks at New Japan Pro Wrestling and their contracted talent. Jesus, what a roundabout way to go about saying that. First and foremost, night 15, which happened on August 10. At the Hiroshima Sun Plaza. I thought this was a good evening for the G1. I thought everything was very entertaining. I think it's a good night of pro wrestling. Started off really, really strong with El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo defeating Dave Finlay off of a really good match to start off the night. There's some even Steven back and forth to start things off. A Rana by El Phantasmo as well. Some back and forth pinfall attempts and this would become the story of the match, right? Both of them trying to get a quick cover, a roll up, a schoolboy, an O'Connor roll. This would be the story of the match here. Strike exchange and a drop kick that sends ELP to the floor. Finlay goes for the pescado, it fails. Tope suicida and acai moonsault by ELP follow. Forearm dive from the second row by ELP. Finlay lariats him to the floor and lands the pescado successfully this time. Running uppercut by Dave Finlay. ELP with a springboard crossbody right into a lion salt. ELP does some joint manipulation as well. Goes for the UFO. It's avoided by Dave Finlay, who slides into a Uranagi backbreaker and a blue thunder bomb. Hits the acid drop as well. He goes up, there's some top rope shenanigans, but ELP ends up doing an all the way step up. Hang on, let me say that again. A step all the way up enziguri is what we should call it. Is he climbs the ropes in enziguris, so that's a step all the way up. It's an avalanche run, and the Thunder Kiss 86. CR2 is avoided. The Trash Panda is avoided, and they go in and out of pinfall attempts again, but it's a crucifix that gets the job done for El Phantasmo, Canada's favorite son. There we go. That's 4 points for El Phantasmo there. A super solid, fast-paced match from 2 guys Look, two guys who understand the opportunity that they have at being in the G1 and are like, let's just go. Let's just do it. I really enjoyed this match. And I know the CR2 is ELP's finish, but the Thunder Kiss 86 rocks so hard. The way he performs that body splash, it's like complete abandon. It's a beautiful, beautiful splash, and he does it from so far. Like, I would buy someone just being like, nah, this shit just knocked me the fuck out. I guess something like the CR2 is, it a little less wear and tear on the body. I can get that. I can appreciate it for that. Tama Tonga defeated the Great O-Khan in B-block action. That, of course, the match before, of course, was in D-block action. I'm going to try and stay consistent here, Warren. Here in C, we're moving over to the B-block. Tama Tonga defeated the Great O-Khan. This was fine. Just a fine match. Grappling to start. Tama Tonga works Great O-Khan's arm. Great O-Khan body slams Tama Tonga, and he fights back. Lariats the Great O-Khan down. Then fights back himself and starts ramming Tama Tonga's head over and over again in the corner. But then Tama Tonga reverses it and does it himself. Great O-Khan hits a Mongolian chop and the bicycle kick, and then Zaguri followed by Tama Tonga. Then a throat thrust by Great O-Khan, and then a Superman punch by Tama Tonga. It takes off, but it's reversed into a throw by Great O-Khan. Fun little segment there. More strikes, Mongolian chops, backbreaker. Great O-Khan does the claw, but like around his back, which was pretty neat. Fun way to apply it instead of just over the knee like he does. He applies the claw like all around his back, and then he starts to do an airplane spin as he's doing it, which was pretty fun. The sheep killer followed. Tama Tonga fights out. Great O-Khan tries the eliminator, but it's reversed into a gun stun out of nowhere for the win. Fine little match. Solid top to bottom. Nothing that I'd go, wow. But a solid professional wrestling match. Well done. Tama Tonga getting up there. 8 points. Great O-Khan, well, he's been in the mud for a while now. And then was probably the best match of the G1. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Evil in under a minute. The cage match has it up at 44 seconds. The best match of the G1. Keeping me from having to sit through 10 to 15 minutes of House of Torture nonsense. I appreciate Zack Sabre Jr., hero to the people, a modern day Robin Hood. I tell you. But the story here is that, Evil comes to the ring and they're waiting for Zack to come out. But Zack is a smart wrestler. Like, this is the wrestler, right? Who told everyone, instead of standing there and waiting for you to get, to get a dive on you, just move out of the way. It's this guy. So he knows he's starting up again House of Torture. What is he doing? You think he's gonna run out? No, he waits for them to go to get to the ring and whatever. But it's not even that. No, he sends out an imposter. He sends out an imposter, one of the young lions, and Goto and Evil assault him. And then it's like, wait, where's Zack Sabre Jr.? And then they get pissed off. And we're gonna do this again. Let's move on to the C block match of this evening. My favorite match of the G1, in which Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Evil in less than a minute. God bless Zack Sabre Jr. for, keeping me from watching 10 to 15 minutes of House of Torture nonsense with Evil and Dick Togo and Yujiro and Sho. Bless his heart. Hero to the people is Zack Sabre Jr. Wrestling's own Robin Hood. Watching out for the little guy. But see, the thing here is that Zack Sabre Jr. he's been down this path before. Like he's the wrestling genius, right? He's the smart guy. He thinks about everything that most wrestlers don't, right? Like moving when someone wants to perform a dive on you, you just move out of the way, right? That's one of his most famous pieces of advice, right? So Zack Sabre Jr. comes out of, or at least here's the story here behind this. Zack Sabre Jr., at least someone who looks like him, comes out from behind the curtain, and he's got a hat on, and he's got the Zack Sabre Jr. thing, and immediately, well, pretty much immediately, the House of Torture attack him. When I say House of Torture, I'm meaning Evil and Dick Togo, and they blindside him, they attack him, but it's revealed that it is Young Lion Fujita who is actually there. So the House of Torture is like, wait, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Zack is behind the curtain and he attacks them. He attacks Dick Togo, popping his head out from behind the curtain, and then he goes after Evil, and he beats Evil with the Euro clutch. In like, Cage Match has it at 44 seconds. What more do you want? Best match of the G1. That's my kind of Evil match right there. 8 points for our boy Zack. We had Kazuchika Okada then defeating Tom Lawlor in a fun little match. Again, I thought this was very enjoyable. Back and forth from both guys to start. Okada's on the floor, and Lawlor starts to work the arm against the post. We go back into the ring, and Kazuchika Okada no-sells some chops from Lawlor. But Lawlor's like, nah, and then he starts ringing the arm. Okada fights back with a flapjack, a DDT, and a drop kick. The drop kick that knocks Lawlor off the top rope to the floor. On the floor, Lawlor double wrist locks Kazuchika Okada over, through the rail, which was pretty fun. And back in the ring, Lawlor does this great combination triangle wrist lock submission hold, which looked really, really good. That was a lot. That was pretty. That's something I've seen very often, and it looked great. Lawlor avoids a drop kick, hits a spinning heel kick, runs the ropes, but he eats a drop kick by Kazuchika Okada. Follows with another drop kick, a shotgun drop kick, and an air raid crash. Elbow drop coming, but Tom Lawlor catches him into an arm bar. Forearm exchange between the two, and a big rolling forearm by Lawlor. Get a shoulder breaker. Lawlor locks in a hell of a stretch on Okada as well. Okada goes for the Rainmaker, but his arm hurts. Lawlor worked it too hard throughout the match, so Lawlor hits a big pump handle slam and a Bomaye, or Kamigoye, I think, more like. Or the Bomaye, no, it's a Kamigoye. Sorry about that. Then goes for the NKO TB, but it's blocked. He continues with some vicious offense, but we get into a roll-up situation where Okada is he gets lifted into a move, but he transitions into that sit-down pin that he's won matches with before, and he puts this one away. Kazuchika Okada wins. So Tom Lawlor, effectively, his tournament is done with this loss. But I thought it was a fun match. Fun little match here. Good action, strong stuff. Lawlor flexing his MMA, his ground game quite a bit here. And of course, he's wrestling, one of the best in the world. One of the greatest to ever do it. So, of course, it's not going to stink. He looked very good. Probably my favorite Tom Lawlor match of the tournament. I would even say most likely. Yeah, very much so. Looking over the field. Absolutely would say that. And in our main event, Block C, Hiroki Goto defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi in a match that I highly recommend. This was a fantastic match. It's a fantastic match where we get a little bit of Rudo Hiroshi Tanahashi here, who's not in the mood to be like the pristine #1 nice guy here. He's here to win. He knows how crucial this win is to his tournament, right? Because earlier in the evening, like Zack Sabre Jr., he's in his block, right? In Block C. So earlier in the evening, Zack Sabre Jr. scored a win. He's up at 8 points. Hiroshi Tanahashi has 6 at this point in the match, when the match starts. So he's like, I got to win this if I want to stay in contention. This is an important one for me. But you know what? Our boy Hiroki Goto is saying the same thing because he's got 6 points too. And you know what? This match mattered. This match mattered for both guys. And you could tell because this was a great match. This was fantastic. And like I said, Hiroshi Tanahashi, not in the mood for fair play, not in the mood to run this one down the line. He's like, I'm going to win whichever way I can. So when, at the start, when there's a test of strength and Tanahashi pushes Goto into the ropes and the ref asks for a clean break, Tanahashi punches Goto in the gut. He cheap shots him and, punches him right in the abdomen. I'm like, holy shit, here we go. He takes Goto down in a leg lock. They trade headlocks. Goto scoots to the outside when Hiroshi Tanahashi tries to skin the cat, keeps him from doing it. Tanahashi drop kicks Hiroki Goto's knee, and this would be the story of the match here, where Tanahashi, after years of people going after his knee, he's like, motherfucker, I'm going after yours. And boy, he really did. He spent the majority of this match working Goto's knee. Starts with an Indian death lock. Goto fights back with a spinning leg kick and a bulldog. He goes for the Ushigoroshi, but it's reversed into a sling blade. And then we get inverted dragon screw leg whips by Hiroshi Tanahashi. We get the Texas Cloverleaf. There's a superplex that follows. Goto wraps Hiroshi Tanahashi up into a submission after that. Tanahashi avoids the GTR, hits a twist and shout. We get some forearm strikes and a headbutt by Hiroki Goto. And Tanahashi slaps Hiroki Goto right in the face. And a huge slap. Commentary reminds us of this same type of slap breaking Hiroki Goto's jaw in a G1 2013, if my memory, I could be absolutely wrong on this one. Don't take my word for it, but I think that's what it is. And Goto had legitimately had his jaw broken and had to forfeit the rest of the tournament. So they remind us of that. But next thing you know, blood is pouring out of Goto's mouth. So you're like, holy shit. So, of course, like they probably, I don't, you can't plan for blood like that. And, I don't think Goto would blade. But New Japan isn't crazy about, they don't go overboard with the blood and the blading, right? It's not something that they really lean into all that much. It happens so very rarely. Like, I mean, more than unfrequently. Like, it's terribly, terribly rare. But So, yeah, I don't think this was planned, but the, commentary doing the callback, which was cool because this was a cool back spot, but then the blood on top of it, you're like, oh, Jesus, and is he okay? Did they re-aggravate the wound? And, I've been refreshing the New Japan page, trying to get some news here on Hiroki Goto, but, like, the blood is not just a bit, not just like a trickle. It is pouring out of his mouth. You've got Red Shoes that has a napkin or something, or a towel, and he's like sponging it off, It's a fucking hell. What a strike. Hell of a comeback, a callback. And honestly, the blood here added so much to this match. Now you're like, okay, Jesus. Like, it was accidental. But everything that it created then moving forward for the rest of this match, you're like, it added that little extra something that really pushed this match over to make it great. Tanahashi hits aces high. He goes for the high fly flow. Goto moves. And he's like, the blood is just like, blah, blah. He hits a side Russian leg sweep. But he holds on to it and locks Tanahashi up into a La Magistral type of pin. Goto hits the Shoto, the samurai mid kick, goes for the Ushigoroshi. It's reversed into a pin attempt by Hiroshi Tanahashi. Goto kicks out. Tanahashi hangs on to the pin, does a twist and shout, does another twist and shout, goes for a third, but Goto blocks it, lifts him up into a shouting Kai, hits the GTR after, gets the win. Hiroki Goto. No, he got 6 points. I said he had 6, but no, he had 4, so he needed this to stay alive. So look, it all still works. He's at 6 now. And just a bloody fantastic match, like pun not intended. Just fantastic match. A great main event, and I highly recommend you checking it out. I highly recommend sitting down to watch 9:15. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a good show with a great, really perfectly bookmarked. A hot opener and a great main event. And good stuff in between too. And you're not going to get lost in, House of Torture shenanigans. Like, the stuff felt good here, felt fresh, was fun. Good evening of pro wrestling was 9:15. Let's move on to night 16, which just happened earlier today as I'm recording this, August 13th, for the Mashida Gymnasium in Tokyo. Evening started off with Kenta defeating Aaron Henare. Frankly, this match didn't have, this was for the C block, this match didn't have any implications. Not with Zack Sabre Jr. Going up to 8 points the night before. Since up until Zack Sabre Jr.'s win on night 15, there was still a mathematical chance of Kenta moving forward, but no. So this one, and Henare's been eliminated. Like, this was Henare's last match of the tournament, and he was already done. This was a fine opener, though. Like, it was fine. Henare early on gets a diving back elbow. Kenta stalls. Henare hits him a few times on the floor. But, but he hits the post. Kenta starts to wring the arm. Back in the ring, Kenta eats a knee strike, but he fights back with a DDT and a dream killer. Corner hesitation drop kick as well. Henare lands the berserker bomb. Full Nelson attempt is avoided as Kenta wraps his legs around the ref, and there was some sort of weird ref bump that really didn't do anything, but okay. A power slam by Kenta. We get big forearm strikes and big open palms by Kenta. That striking exchange ends with a gut shot by Aaron Henare. The Streak of Rage is avoided into a triangle, but Henare power bombs out of it. Knee strike by Kenta, locks in the game over crossface, and we're good. Fine, well worked, and a good way to start off the show. But no implications on any level for this match here. Kenta's already eliminated. Henare's already eliminated. That one was done. Jeff Cobb defeated Toru Yano in Block A Action. This match was short. It was sweet. Jeff Cobb is in the ring. Yano's music is playing, but he doesn't show up. So the referee starts doing the countdown. They ring the bell, starts doing the count out. But of course, Yano comes in from the audience, attacks Jeff Cobb, sprays disinfectant in his eyes, tries to roll him up. This spills to the floor. And Yano stuffs Jeff Cobb's arms into his singlet, so he looks just like a pillar of meat. And he rolls him into the ring skirt. So now he's like he's a big, like Kevin Kelly said, a big Hawaiian burrito. I didn't say it first. I'm not taking credit for that one. Jeff Cobb gets back into the ring. He hops back and he needs a young boy to help him, and he flops around. It's actually pretty funny. Like the visual of it is pretty funny. But obviously he gets out of all this shit. Overhead belly to belly suplex. He pulls Yano's shirt over his head. Super kick toward the islands. Thank you very much. Again, very short, very sweet. Fun too. Like it didn't overstay its welcome. They didn't try to extract 8 minutes from this one. It was fine. If it lasted 4 minutes, this was a sub 5 minute match for sure. Got the job done. I enjoyed it. Jeff Cobb still in the conversation for A block. Let's move on to D block, where Shingo Takagi thankfully defeated Yujiro Takahashi. And honestly, I gotta say, this was pretty fun. But you could tell it, during this match, Yujiro tried to drag it down. But Shingo Takagi was like, no, we're wrestling my match. we're getting out of 0.5 gear. Not even first gear. That Yujiro wrestles on. It's like 0.5. I know it doesn't exist. Make it happen. Create a 0.5 gear on cars moving forward so that people will know what the fuck I'm talking about. But no, Shingo's in control early of this match. Hits a suplex on the floor. Shingo throws him into the rails, into the posts. Yujiro uses a chair to get the advantage. Slop drops Shingo on the floor. They fight back into the ring, avoid suplexes from each other by biting each other's hands. Shingo lariats him down, scoop slam and senton as well. And here comes Sho. He holds on to Shingo's foot, which allows Yujiro to get back in control. He hits an Olympic slam in the Miami Shine. Headbutt by Shingo, but Sho runs interference. Gets a kick by Yujiro. Shingo runs the ropes, eats a chair shot by Sho. Yujiro follows up with pimp juice. Shingo kicks out. He does the fake out DDT, and a Made in Japan lands as well. Goes for the last of the dragons. It's avoided. Shingo gets dumped to the floor. He gets flung into the rails, and he eats a fisherman's buster on the floor. But then Shingo hits a Death Valley driver on the floor, and they're trying to recreate the finish from last year's G1 that ended to a draw. And we get back into the ring. Shingo tries again for Last of the Dragons. It's avoided by a bite. There's a ref bump. Sho tosses a chair to Yujiro. Shingo fires up though, and he palms the chair. How wrestlers lift the chair sort of in front of their face, overhead. And as Yujiro's lifting it, as it goes in front of his face, whop! Shingo just palms the chair right on the fucking bridge of his nose. and he throws the chair at Sho, who eats it square on the noggin. Last of the Dragon for the win. What more do you want from me? Shingo Takagi stays in the conversation for D Block. And we're going to talk about D Block in a second. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a pretty fun match, and I thought, the shenanigans from the House of Torture were not overwhelming. They were, they were annoying. That's what they're supposed to do. But everything turned out okay in the end. Our boy won, and that's what matters. And then we get our main event. No, it's not the main event. Not even the main event. It feels like the main event because you know what I was about to say? I highly recommend this match. YOSHI-HASHI versus Will Osprey. I recommend it. I thought this was great. I really thought this match was great. And I could tell that we were in for something special because it's tense from the get-go. It starts off tense with chops, and you just feel it, like both Will and YOSHI-HASHI are like, ugh. Big running kick by Will to start this off, and he starts to work the arm of YOSHI-HASHI, the one that's been hurt since time immemorial. He really starts to pick it apart, and YOSHI-HASHI's selling the shit out of it. A high arm lock by Will Osprey at some point too. Puts an extra pressure on it. YOSHI-HASHI reverses out of a move into a neck breaker, drop kick to the knee, and the headhunter follows. Will Osprey hits the handspring spinning kick that he does, but with such fucking speed. He came in so fast. It was amazing. Lands a pescado after this, chops in a jumping kick. Osprey hits a phenomenal forearm to the back of YOSHI-HASHI's head. He did it off the top rope, by the way. Cutter blocked into a dragon suplex by YOSHI-HASHI. Gets some chops in, and he's chopping hard. YOSHI-HASHI he's just laying in the chops. And a thrust kick as well. There's really big chop war between them both as Will Osprey maintains wrist control here. And this is important because they're chopping each other as Osprey hangs on to the wrist, and they knock each other down to the floor, to the mat, I should say, and Will Osprey maintains wrist control, even when they're on their back. And he gets back up, kicks YOSHI-HASHI, who ducks, and uses this wrist control to slide into the Karma move. And he lands it, but it takes too long for him to pin Osprey. Osprey's able to recover and kick out. We get more strikes, an Cutter. YOSHI-HASHI kicks out of the Cutter. The hidden blade is avoided. Cutter again. But YOSHI-HASHI anti-airs it with a thrust kick. We get a destroyer by YOSHI-HASHI and a hook kick. Kicks and punches by Will. Powerbomb by Osprey. YOSHI-HASHI gets right back up, hits the Ushiguroshi. Osprey hits a standing Spanish fly. Lands the Chelsea Green, hits the hidden blade, gets the win. Hell of a final stretch. Loved the finish. Great match. Highly recommended. I'm telling you guys, there is no one on this roster in New Japan Professional Wrestling that works harder for his losses than YOSHI-HASHI does. And if he gets into the ring with Will Osprey, who is not even arguably, he is absolutely one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. If he can get in the ring with him and hang and tear it up with him, create the momentum, make the match happen. I'm telling you, there's more to YOSHI-HASHI than we've been letting on. There's eventually going to be this guy has a ceiling like everyone, and he's not world title material, right? But this is a guy who will work his ass off Give us some great matches, and at some point, we're going to stop being surprised that YOSHI-HASHI is giving us great matches. At some point, this is not going to be the YOSHI-HASHI from, what was it? Was it last year or the year before? Who came out like, I can't remember the show. What was the show? It was a New Japan show in America, and he came out to a disaster of a response, right? Wasn't he fighting Kenta and the audience completely turned on him? I think that was I'm sure someone will correct me, right? But at least I remember this New Japan of America match that he had, and he came out to like, I think it was the one in Philly. Wasn't it the one in Philly? Look, and we're going to keep this rolling. I'm not going to check it out. We're just going to keep this rolling. But my point is that this is not that YOSHI-HASHI anymore. Yes, he still looks like one of the seven dwarves. Sleepy specifically. But, despite his charisma, I guess, not necessarily connecting with North Americans, he seems to be over in Japan. They buy him as a babyface. They buy him as an underdog. And at some point, we're going to keep pulling the trigger on this guy. I don't think he's the guy who's going to carry the company. I don't think he's a top tier. I don't think he's going to crack the glass ceiling of the main event scene. But he's going to be up there. He's going to be, you know what? Tomohiro Ishii at some point is going to retire. And I can think of worse spots to have than to be the next Tomohiro Ishii. The gatekeeper / super intense and deliberate worker that always has good to great matches to fantastic matches with his opponents, right? A guy who is not even a question of being reliable. A guy who can deliver and over deliver, like Ishii. I can think of worse spots for YOSHI-HASHI, for anyone in wrestling, than to be that guy. Who gets an occasion, who gets big wins nonetheless. Not a complete loser, wins titles. I'm not talking what they had turned Chris Hero into in NXT. You know what I mean? Not that kind of situation. But a guy who can work. Who can put guys over, put himself over in the meantime, deliver great matches. At some point, we're going to stop being surprised that YOSHI-HASHI is having great matches. And this G1 has made a tremendous case for me anyway. As to, look, I can't do the bit anymore. There's another guy whose bit I have to abandon. But because, I'd love to make, crack some jokes at his expense, have a little rib at his expense. You can't do it anymore. Check this match out. And now our main event, Jay White defeated Taichi. And I think we had a fun match here too. Another fun match here. Taichi tries to get Jay White from the get-go to do some sumo, and Jay White is like, "Oh yeah, show me," and you're like, "Oh come on." You've seen enough Jay White matches in your lifetime to know. Like if Jay White starts going, "Oh, tell me more about this thing you're showing me," you're like, "Oh, you're about to get suckered into something." And he did. He suckered Taichi into a throw. And he works Taichi down slowly, chops, followed by, and then we get a Gamangiri by Taichi, who hits a hook kick as well. Jay White hits the Blade Buster and a deadlift German suplex, Uranagi. He's playing the hits at this point. There's a big exchange between the two. Another Gamangiri by Taichi that knocks both of them down. Now, outside the ring, we have Goto, who camera cuts to him dragging Miho Abe by the hair. And I'm like, whoa! I haven't seen and Miho is such a nice, positive, influence. And you can, Commentary's always putting over how nice she is. And to see her being dragged by that fucker in his fucking bucket hat. I'm like, this is some real basic heel shit. And I was into it. I was like, fuck this guy. And Jay White is in control in the meantime, and he's taunting Taichi, and he's like, look, you see she's over there. Do you want to go save her? Do you want to go save her? Kind of thing. Then eventually Taichi does, he gets all Michael Myers on Jay White. He's no selling offense, and he's like fixated on Goto, because Gato's just, he's leaning against the ramp outside against the rails, and he's holding her head like she's down on the ground, and he's standing up and leaning against the rail and with a big chunk of her hair in his hands, and I'm like, of course, go fucking save her, Taichi. And I remember there would have been a while that Taichi wouldn't have given a fuck. There's years ago, Taichi would not have cared. But he does now, because he's a complex heel or a complex babyface, however way you want to look at it. And he was definitely the babyface in this match. So he goes after Goto, and Goto starts, of course, once Taichi dispatches Jay White, he goes after Goto, and Goto hits the bricks, right? But Yoshinobu Kanemaru, who was on commentary, hops the barricade to help out his boy and sort of intimidate Goto, and I'm like, look at the Suzuki-gun boys looking after Miho. Like, it's a team thing. They'll let each other, I'm like, honor amongst these scumbags, and I like it, because that's what Suzuki-gun are, right? They're all scumbags, but there's honor among them. They're like, look, you get double team, you get triple team, that's your thing. You're a wrestler, you can manage. But Miho is Miho. She's, look, it had really big brother vibes here, looking out for their girl. I thought that was a nice little storytelling moment. Anyway, we get back into the ring, back to the match. We get back into the ring, and Taichi double lariats down Goto and Jay White. He hits a huge last ride on Jay White, like the biggest of last rides on White. White, however, comes back, hits the sleeper suplex, but Taichi pops right back up with a dangerous suplex, hits a buzzsaw kick, avoids a blade runner. He rolls into a Goto clutch and gets like this close a victory, very, very close. He gets into another blade runner, but he sumo throws his way out of it. Another blade runner by Jay White. Another attempt anyway. Taichi slinks out, lariats him down, hits a dangerous suplex with a bridge, which Jay White is able to get out of, but Jay White lands a blade runner this time. But he can't cover because Taichi's been beating the shit out of him. So he's taking this time to regain his senses. He can't cover him. He ate too much shit. So he's trying to get back up onto his feet, and in the meantime, he's trying to drag Taichi up to his feet. It's attrition, exhaustion kicking in. Then Taichi starts to punch Jay White's back, clearly trying to start to mount a comeback. Jay White sees it coming, surge of adrenaline, Blade Runner, we're done. I loved the ending to this match. Loved the finish. Fun match. And after, there were reports that Jay White was being pulled from the previous two nights of the tournament due to symptoms related to heat stroke. And he wasn't missing any block action. These were the prelim matches, the 6-man, the 8-man, and so on and so forth. And he gets on the mic after, as it is customary for the winner of the main event to do. He gets on the mic after and he says flat out, "I live in Florida. Do you think that a little sun and a little heat is going to get me down?" And he's like, do you really think I had heat stroke? Thank you for the 2 nights off, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, maybe he did, though. Maybe he legitimately did, and he's just being a heel now, and he's just working it into his heel persona and saying, no, I faked it. You guys are idiots because I live in super warm climate, period, you know? I don't know. But he did get 2 nights off, and he said it himself. He said, why would I wrestle on 2 nights? That had 0 meaning. Tonight, I had points to win, and I have points to win in 2 nights, 3 nights, 2 nights against Tama Tonga. I mean, it's the most, like, it's the most perfect Jay White thing to do / say. Like, it's spot on perfect. You can't argue with it. It made so much sense. I loved it. Best heel in the business. Fucking love it. Let's talk about the standings. Let's talk about the blocks. If you're on youtube.com/MrRowanHayes right now, you see them live and right in your face. So, Kazuchika Okada is currently 4-1. He's on top of block A right now. Jonah, Lance Archer, and Jeff Cobb are all tied at 6 points. And Tom Lawlor officially is eliminated from the tournament. And, officially, mathematically, he's gone. We're good now. And Bad Luck Fale and Toru Yano had been gone for a couple of nights at this point. So, as it stands right now, Archer, Jonah, and Jeff Cobb are all 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. 3-2 and 3-2, correct. So technically speaking, they all have, mathematically speaking, they all have the opportunity to catch up to Kazuchika Okada to win, right? Jonah could catch up, and Jeff Cobb could catch up. And so could Lance Archer. Just by winning their match, they'd be tied with Kazuchika Okada. Now, for any of this to matter, though, Kazuchika Okada has to lose his next match, which is against Lance Archer, which is going to be on night 18, on the final night. Jeff Cobb would have to defeat Tom Lawlor, and Jonah would have to defeat Bad Luck Fale. So it is entirely possible to have a 4-man, 4 people tied for 8 points in A block if Archer defeats Kazuchika Okada on night 18. This is the thing. And if Archer ties with Okada on the 18th, if he wins, if Archer defeats, hello, I'm new to this. If Archer defeats Kazuchika Okada on night 18, he ties Okada at 8 points, and he effectively wins the block because he has the tiebreaker then over Okada. And that would be a shocker. And I mean, this has been a G1 full of surprises. There's just been tons and tons of surprises up and down this card, up and down this tournament. So I wouldn't put it out of the way. I wouldn't bury that possibility. But that's considering that the 2 other guys lose their matches, right? Jeff Cobb and Jonah. Because if everyone is tied at 8, you take a look here, Okada would have the tiebreaker only over Jeff Cobb. So that's also significant. Jonah beat him, and Archer would have beat him. Again, we're talking in a scenario where we have 4 guys at 8 points. Cobb has the tiebreaker over Archer. So only over Archer. So this is another guy that only has one tiebreaker. Jonah would have the tiebreaker over no, sorry. Let me say that again. Jeff Cobb would have the tiebreaker only over Archer. There we go. Now, Archer would have tiebreakers, again, in this scenario here, over Jonah and Kazuchika Okada. So he would have 2 tiebreakers. And then Jonah would have tiebreakers over Archer. Would have tiebreakers over Jonah, over Jeff Cobb and Kazuchika Okada. So he again with 2. So then we'd effectively have a tie here between Lance Archer and Jonah for the amount of tiebreakers. And I think the idea, if memory serves me right, then I think we go back down to overall number of I think it breaks down to time. I don't quite remember. But there's another way to... But look, this is already too complicated for it to happen this way. This is not going to happen. I think officially, I think this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to roll into night 18. Kazuchika Okada is going to defeat Lance Archer. Okada is going to finish the block with 10 points. He's going to win and he's going to move on. Clear and simple. I don't see another outcome, honestly. Lance Archer could defeat Okada. That would be a shock, but I don't think they're doing that. I think they want... Look, Okada's the man. It's the 50th anniversary. He's the draw. Isn't he supposed to be taking a little bit of time off too? Weren't there reports that he was taking time off because he's going to be a father? So, he's going to be a father, right? So, I think Okada puts butts in seats. Don't underestimate that. When we talk about people being draws or not, and arguing about that, you cannot argue the case of Kazuchika Okada being a draw for New Japan Pro Wrestling. You just can't. Let's move over to Block B. Jay White up there with the perfect score, 10 points, followed by Tama Tonga. With the events that transpired on night 16, Jay White has effectively ended Taichi, Sanada. I had already counted him out, but it's official. Like it's math. It's math now. He's done. Sanada, Taichi, and everyone else. B Block is a 2-man affair now. B Block is a 2-man thing. And they are fighting on the final night of on night 18. Jay White and Tama Tonga. Look, I think I talked about this in the last recap, and I think it's even clearer now. Tama Tonga is defeating Jay White on the last night of the block. They'll be tied at 10 points, and Tama Tonga, because he has the tiebreaker, having defeated Jay White, will move forward. And we're going to get Kazuchika Okada versus Tama Tonga, which is cool. I think it's fresh. I think it's a good opportunity for Tama Tonga to work in a big time singles match against, fucking top guy in the company. So let's go. I like it. I like this prospect. I think This is going to be a good semifinal match once we get there. Kazuchika Okada versus versus Tama Tonga. Again, because I don't think you put Jay White into a semifinal match with Kazuchika Okada for the G1. You don't. Now, if Okada, I don't know what the order is going to be, right? They can shift the order around as much. Well, look, we're opening the evening, from what I understand here, on night 18 with Okada versus Archer. If Archer wins, if by any stretch of the imagination Archer wins this match, then you can make a case for Jay White winning B block. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think Okada's moving forward. And you know what? The Tama Tonga Jay White story, of Jay White kicking Tama Tonga out of Bullet Club. This is a story beat here, and it's a big time one because it's not just Bullet Club shit. It's not just betrayal shit. It's G1 shit on top of that. I think that's where we go, and I think Tama Tonga gets some retribution for what Bullet Club did to him, evicting him like they did. Next, C block. Zack Sabre Jr. leading the block at 8 points, followed by three guys at 6 points. Hirooki Goto, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Tetsuya Naito. With Zack Sabre Jr.'s win on night 15, he eliminated Evil, and by the same turn as well, eliminated Kenta from mathematical possibilities. Aaron Henare's been out for a while. Aaron Henare's tournament is officially done, by the way. He has no more matches. So we have Zack at the top, Goto staying alive over his with his win over Tanahashi, and you have Tetsuya Naito. Again, I think we can come up with scenarios here, but Naito he's one match away from winning the tournament, and I think this is what's happening. I called it all that time back ago. He's doing the big comeback run, and it's going to land on the 18. He's fighting Zack Sabre Jr. on the 18. This has always been our clue. It's been our number one clue as to what was going to happen. He's going to tie Zack Sabre Jr. at 8 points, and since he'll have the tiebreaker, he will move forward and be the winner of C block. I don't think there's any point really in trying to break this down any more than it is. Tanahashi's fighting Kenta, which I think they're going to play into the United States, the IWGP US title match, the ladder match where Kenta just destroyed his body. His body entirely exploded on him. I think they're going to play into that and allow Kenta, the story here, to have Kenta have a pound of flesh here on Tanahashi to spoil his tournament. I think that's what they're going to do here. I think Evil might even spoil Goto's tournament here because they don't want to muddy the waters here. They want Naito to come up and have a victory, have two guys at 8 points so that it's clear and that it's Naito and there's no one's stroking their beards and going, well, is this really the outcome? Yes, this is the outcome. There's not going to be someone else at 8 points. Goto, Tanahashi both get spoiled. Tanahashi's last match, if I'm not mistaken, is on the 17 against Kenta. Exactly. It's on the 17 against Kenta, night 17, not the 17, but night 17 on August 14, which is tomorrow. So that will be a clear indicator right there. Once Tanahashi loses, I think it becomes, if it isn't already crystal clear, then, we've taken out, crystal polish and, we've rubbed it down with a nice chamois until it just, it gleams. That kind of thing. And So yeah, I mean, I think Naito was still the thing. Now D block, we've got 4 people tied at 6. Dave Finlay, Shingo, Yujiro, Will Osprey. And then you have YOSHI-HASHI and El Phantasmo, who are still very much in this, who could score another 6 points. And commentary's been putting over a lot the idea, the chaos block, the chaos finish, right? Like, what do you do? What do you do? I'll tell you one thing that you don't do is have Yujiro win the fucking block. I cannot believe that we are in the year of our Lord 2022 and I am talking about the G1 with fucking Yujiro Takahashi, that sack of shit, as a contender here. He's 3-3. His tournament is done, by the way. He has no more matches. He wrestled his last match today on night 16. He's done. All he can do is sit back and hope that Dave Finlay loses, that Shingo loses, and that Will loses. Because if any of these dopes win, because if Yujiro's tournament is done, and honestly, that's what he deserves. So the odds are not in his favor. You can't mathematically discount Yujiro, but the odds are stacked against him. Dave, Shingo, and Will all losing. And I mean, and it's possible, like it's the same thing for YOSHI-HASHI, right? YOSHI-HASHI has one more match left against Dave Finlay. Now, if YOSHI-HASHI wins, he goes up at 6 points. And his last match, and David Finlay's, is on night 17. Whereas Shingo, Will, their last match, Phantasmo and Juice Robinson, their matches are on night 18. So if YOSHI-HASHI wins on night 17, he's in the running. he's in the running to win the block. It's wild. Shingo on the 18 is fighting El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo, again, if he wins, he gets in the running too, so you can't discount him. I discounted Juice, right? We eliminated Juice because of the tiebreakers that some people hold over him. Right? He's got Yujiro, he's got Dave Finlay. He got his win over Ospreay. Not over Ospreay, over Shingo. He still has to fight Ospreay. But he's got his win over Shingo, which potentially could, but he's got 2 of the guys up in the block, up in the upper strata of things that could that have the tiebreaker over him. It's not happening for Juice. It hasn't. We're good. I think it's not a question of math, it's a question of logic at this point. El Phantasmo, I'm keeping him in there because he only has only Ospreay out of the guys with 6 points. Only Ospreay holds the tiebreaker over him. Now he's fighting Takagi, Shingo, on the 18th. And I sincerely believe El Phantasmo is going to beat Shingo. Because again, I'm still convinced about this. I still think this is the way. I think Will Osprey is the guy who wins Block D. Because your semifinal for these blocks would be Tetsuya Naito and Will Osprey. That's a money match. That's a good one. That's a solid match. And I think that's what you go with. You could make a case for Shingo and Naito as well. LIJ brothers going at it? Sure, let's go. Let's fucking go. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but I still think Will is doing it. I still think Will is doing it. Now, is he going to win? No, probably not. He's probably not going to win. Because he has to fly down to the United States after, and he has to get those trio titles. I don't think that's happening. You know, I think Will wins the block, but I don't think he's winning the G1. So I think this is what I'm thinking. I think Shingo loses. I think Dave loses. I think Finlay is going to get beat by YOSHI-HASHI, and I am actually looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be sneaky good. YOSHI-HASHI is going to win. So he's going to be in the 6-point club, just to continue to add 24 hours of drama to this situation here. I think Shingo is going to get upset by El Phantasmo on night 18. And Will is going to be the guy who's going to hoist himself above it all. And he's going to score the 8 points that's going to seal it, defeating Juice Robinson on night 18. I think that's how it's going to go down. Kazuchika Okada, Tama Tonga, Tetsuya Naito, Will Osprey, and what are my G1 finals? Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito. Who wins? Tetsuya Naito. You could also make a case for... You honestly could make a case for Tama Tonga. Give me a second here. I think you could make a case for Tama Tonga. Because I'm thinking about it. Look, let me revise this. Because I'm just thinking, we've already had Okada and Naito twice this year in main event situations. Would Goto run it again? I wouldn't be surprised if he would. But maybe he won't. And I think there's a case to continue pushing Tama Tonga, making him come across as a big-time babyface. And to a degree, he's taking the Carl Anderson route here, right? He's doing the Carl Anderson thing here. His mentor. This was established, right? When Carl Anderson came out and, and attacked him and then challenged him for the never open weight title and then won it. And he said, I'm your mentor. I gave you the gun stun, whatever. Carl Anderson, former G1 finalist, right? So I don't think he'll win, but I think there's a case to be made to push Tama Tonga, keep getting that babyface energy going for him, score a big win over Kazuchika Okada, especially if it's a good, hard-fought match, and then we get into the semifinals, and we get to the finals of the climax, and you get Tetsuya Naito versus Tama Tonga. Again, at this level, a big-time match, it feels fresh. And I think you do lean into the story that this might be Tetsuya Naito's last attempt at a Wrestle Kingdom main event kind of thing. Why not go for that? I'd go for it. I'd try that out. I'm okay with that. Because, here's the thing is you can still keep Okada and Jay White and anyone else in the conversation because Wrestle Kingdom's a 2-night thing now, right? So even the G1 victory isn't as significant as it was because anyone else can challenge on another night. You know what I mean? There you go. So look, we're about to wrap this one up. We're just about done with the G1 Climax 32 this year. 2 more nights, then the semis, the finals. I'll be back in the final stretch to cover all of this with all of y'all. So a big week of G1 ahead of us. I'm excited. I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out. But look, in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for listening, for joining, for tuning in, and take it easy. We'll see you next time.